Back to our Richest YouTube channel. Today's class will be learning how to make this beautiful blouse. It's a basic blouse with this flounce continuous from the bodice to the sleeve. So the sleeve is like a cold shoulder sleeve, as you can see. It has this beautiful cold shoulder effect, and it's a very simple and beginner friendly tutorial. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so the main tutorial is going to be on the flounce, and we're going to be placing it on this blouse that I already have. It's just a basic blouse. So there are several ways you can achieve this. You can place the flounce on a bustier off shoulder. You can cut it separately, which means you cut your main bodice and cut your sleeve separately, but I want this to be as beginner friendly as possible. That was why I just made my regular blouse with a waist dart, as you can see, and then I fixed my basic sleeve on it. So I'm going to be modifying this to an off shoulder bodice, which I'll be applying the flounce on. So I'm using this as the main bodice, and I'm going to work with this ankara for my flounce. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do now is to put this basic bodice on fold, because I want to reshape this to an off shoulder bodice, and I want to have the same thing on both sides. I want them to be equal. That's why I'm putting them on fold like this. So after putting the bodice on fold, you make sure that you arrange it well. You can hold it with a pin if it's shifting. Now I'm going to measure how off I want this to be. So it's not going to be too off, because I don't want it to show any part of my body. So from my starting point, I can measure 4 inches or 5 inches, or depending just how low you want it. Basically, that's what you're measuring. So I'm just going to leave it at 4.5 inches. And here I'm measuring my 4.5 inches at my center fold. I'll go to the point where my sleeve joins to the bodice also, and then I'm going to measure around 3 or 4, because it's going to be like a cold shoulder. So this is totally up to you, depends on how off you want it to be also. So I did 4.5 inches here. I remember that I already went 1 inch downward for my shoulder slope, so I'm just going to leave this at around 3 inches. It's fine, or 3.5 inches also. Okay, so after doing that, now I'm going to connect this with my free hand, but you can also reshape it anyhow you want. If you want this higher, you can just go up now and then shape it to just go down to meet this. So after doing all of this, remember this is a long sleeve, but because you're going to be adding a flounce to this sleeve, so my actual long sleeve is 24 inches. So I deducted 4 inches from his, sorry, 23 inches. So I deducted 4 inches from it, and then I have 19 inches here. Okay, so now I want my sleeve opening to stop like 3 inches or 4 inches below, away from my hem. So now I'm just going to take my tape rule from where your sleeve stops, the hem of your sleeve. I'm going to go upwards by 4 inches, and then I'm going to stop it here. So now what this 4 inches mean is that I'm going to connect from my armhole point downwards here where I marked, all the way to this 4 inches. So you can use your free hand, or you can use a straight ruler or a slightly curved ruler to do this. So once you do all this connection, the first connection is going to be on your center fold. I went down by 4.5 inches, and the next one is on my armhole area. I went down by 3.5 inches, and then from where my sleeve stops, I went upwards by 4 inches, and then I connected all of these points together. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to cut this out. Okay, so now I'm cutting this. So make sure that they align well. None should be longer than the other. So now I've cut it now, and this is what I have. You can see what the shape is looking like now. Okay, so now the remaining 4 inches that we went up from our, so that I can pass my flounce through it, I'm just going to open it up completely like this. I'll do the same thing for the other side. I'll open it up completely, and this is what this is looking like now. You can see what I have. So now I'm going to take my tape measure and measure around this, because that is what I'm going to use to cut out my flounce. So, and the flounce is going to go around the hem of the sleeve also, remember that. So I'm going to take my tape now and then start. You can start your measurement from anywhere. So I'm going to start from the center front here, from the sleeve of the front area. I'll go over to the bodice of the front, back to the other side of the sleeve for the front, and then I'm going to go around the hem, round the sleeve, and then back to. So now we're going to go around the hem of the sleeve, and then I'm going back to the back part of the sleeve. So you can just measure around where you're going to be placing your flounce. Basically that's what we're doing. So now when you get that measurement, now the total of my measurement is around 115 inches. Okay, so there are several ways you can cut this. You can cut it in form of a flare, you can cut it in form of a flare flounce, but I'm going to be cutting this in a straight form because I don't have too much fabric. Flare is going to consume more fabric, and I don't have enough fabric for this. So the 115 inches that I have, I'm just going to multiply that by 2, and that's going to give me around 230 inches. So I'll just round that up to 250 inches. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut a fabric of 250 inches length. Okay, I don't have a fabric that is that long, so I'm just going to join them to each other to make up the 250 inches that I need. And then the total length that I want for this length is around 4 or 5 inches. So because I don't want this to have any joining, I'm just going to put it on fold before I cut it. So this part that is on fold is going to be the upper part, and this part here is what I'm going to sew to the bodice. I hope you understand that. So I'll go ahead now and cut the fabric that is 250 inches long, and then the length for the flounce is going to be around 5 inches, just like I mentioned, and the 5 inches is also going to be on fold as we have seen. Okay, so I'm gonna head to cut it out, and then I join this, then I run my gather stitch as you can see. So it's on fold. This is the part that is going to be upwards, and this is the part that I'm going to sew to my body. So I have the 115 inches that I measured round now after gathering it. So that's what I have, and the length of this is 5 inches. So by the time I sew in this ½ inch, it's going to be 4.5 inches left for me. So this is the part that I'm going to sew it to, the part that we opened up. So what I just need to do now is to place this. You're going to start from your center back. That's where your zipper is going to go through. So that's where you start from. So this is the center back. You can see that it's in 2 places. So I'm going to start from my center back now, and then I'm going to sew it like this all the way to the main, to the entire bodies. Okay, so I'm starting from my center back. This is the sleeve, this back part of the sleeve. Then I'll take it round the hem of the sleeve, and then I'll go to the front part of the sleeve, and then to the front of the bodies, then the front part of the other sleeve, the hem, and then back to the center back. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this now. So if you're going to be sewing a lining to it, you have your lining ready, so that by the time you sew your flounce, you use the lining to cover it up. But I'm not going to be adding a lining to this, so I'm just going to sew it. You can cover the rough edges with a bias, or you just serge it, and then I'm going to top stitch on it like this so that it can stand the way I want after sewing it. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew the flounce around it now. So this is what I have. It's quite big now, so I hope you can see this. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. So the last thing to do now is to add our strap. Remember, we just changed it to an off shoulder. We did not tighten the upper part. So now to add the strap to complete these bodies, we remove 3.5 inches from the armhole area here to form our off shoulder. So the 3.5 inches we remove, that's 3.5 inches for the front and 3.5 inches for the back. In all, that's going to be 7 inches. So I'm going to add ½ an inch to both sides also to sew it back to the bodies. So that's going to be 8 inches. So I'm going to cut a strap of 8 inches long, and then the width is going to be 1 inch for me, but it can be any inch that you want for you. So I cut it on fold, and then I turned it out. So this is what I have, is 1 inch by 8 inches. Okay, and that's going to be my strap. So now on my armhole area, you can see where the armhole joins to the bodies. Now I'm going to place it on the flounce area here, and then I'll hold it with a pin. So you can see I am placing it because I want to top stitch on it so that my flounce will be raised up. So at this point, if you want to add lining to this, So you just need to fix sew your lining exactly the same way you sew the main bodies, and then you place it on top of this, so that by the time you sew it round, you can flip it over so that it can cover your rough edges. So now I've done this to the front. Now I'll go over to the back also. So this is what the back looks like. This is the armhole where I have it joined to, where I have the sleeve joined to my basic bodies. So now I'm going to also place it like this, the other end of the strap, and then I'm going to hold it with a pin. So now holding it with a pin now is going to complete this strap for me, and then I'll have something like this. So you can see that this is going to, my shoulder is going, this is going to hang on my shoulder. So this is my first strap. You go over to the other hand and do the same thing. So you look for where you have your armhole line, where the sleeve is joining to the main bodies, and then you place it like this also, and then you pin it down. So it's simple. After doing this, you take the one for the back also, you look for where you have your armhole, and then you place it on it and then pin it. So now after doing this, you just take it to your sewing machine now. So this is what our two strap is looking like now. So the last thing to do now, before we move to the hem of the sleeve, is to add our rope. So we want to use this rope to control what we have here, because you cannot just have it opened like that. So now from where my armhole stops here, you can just take your tape measure and measure 7 inches downwards. Let me turn it to the right so that we can see. So this is the main bodies, and this is where the armhole is. So from here now, you can just take your tape measure and measure 7 to 8 inches, or as the case may be, depending on where you want your rope to be. So I have made 4 ropes here, and then I'm going to be adding it to it like this. So I'll add one on this side, I'll pin it down, which we are going to sew later, and then I'll do the same thing on this other side also. I'll place the rope like this and then pin it down. So what the rope is going to do now is to adjust this so that it's not going to be opening up for you. So you just use this to tie it to your arm like this. It's going to adjust what you have as your coat shoulder. So now we're going to go ahead to the sewing machine now and sew this strap to it, and also sew the rope, and then also we're going to finish the hem also. Okay, so on the hem, remember I went upwards from the hem by 4 inches. You can do more or less depending on the style that you're going me to get. So now this 4 inches before, remember this is the hem of our sleeve, and then we went upwards by 4 inches before we slanted it to the armhole area. So that 4 inches now, I want to close it back. So to close it, I'm just going to place it like this. Remember this is the inner part of the sleeve, so I will tuck in all of these flounce and then place it against each other. Then I'm going to sew the 4 inches, so it's from here to here, so you can see it. So I'm going to sew it close together like this. So by the time I sew it and then I turn it to the right side, it's going to be neat. Okay, so you can see by the time I sew it and then I turn it to the right side, it's going to be neatly finished. So you can see what I will have here. It's going to be neat. I don't want to see any rough edges there. So I'll do that for the other side also. I'm just going to take it now and then tuck in all of these flanks and then place them against each other like this, and then sew the 4 inches. So I'll go and sew this and also attach the strap. Then the last thing to do now is to measure like 5 to 7 inches depending on what you want. Then you're going to get ropes, 4 ropes to tie up to your arm. So here now, from my armhole area here, I'm going to take my tape and then I'll measure. This is totally up to you also, it depends on where you want that rope to be. So for me, for the sake of measurement, from my armhole, you can see where the armhole joins to the main body, so you can see the continuation with our strap here. So this is our strap, this is the armhole, and this is where the sleeve starts. So from where the sleeve starts here, that's your armhole. From your armhole point, I'm going to measure. I hope you can see this. Okay, so this is the strap. So from here now, this is my sleeve. I'm going to measure like 7 inches or even 8 inches, or you can just put the sleeve on fold, and that midpoint you just attach this rope to it. So I have 4 ropes like this. I'm going to sew one here and hold with a pin and then on that same point for the other side also, I'm going to sew the other side. So you can see what I have. I'm going to sew the other side also, so I don't want this to be too long. That's why I'm taking everything together. Just watch it carefully, I'm sure you understand it. So by the time I sew it and then I top stitch on it, I'll be able to tie the two ropes to my hand like this. So now I'll go over to the machine. The main thing I want to do now is to sew my strap. Just like I explained earlier, I'm going to sew the strap. Also the hem here, I'm going to turn it inwards like this and then sew, and then also I'm going to sew my strap. So this strap, like I said, you can just measure from where your armhole starts. You can measure 7 to 8 inches, or you just divide your sleeve into two and then locate any point you want to put your strap. So after sewing the strap, I'm going to fold in my seam allowance because I'm not adding lining to this, and then I'm going to top stitch on the seam allowance round. So I'll do all of this and bring you back to show us what we have. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew them together. You can see my strap is sewn now, and then you need to serge this is because it's a tutorial, that's why I left it like this. But on this rough part, if you are not adding lining to it, you need to serge it, or you use a bias to cover all this rough edge and then you top stitch on it. So this is the strap. So this is what it's looking like. This is the front part, the center front, the front part. This is the sleeve area. You can see that the flounce is continuous from the sleeve all the way to the front, and then it goes to the back. So this is the strap that we added that you're going to tie on the sleeve area. So like I said, you can add this, and we started the measurement from here. So I said you can measure from your armhole area. You can measure like 7 inches, or you just put the rope anywhere you want it to be. So this is the first side, and this is what the second side is looking like. You can see that the flounce just go from one side all the way to the other like this, and this is what it looks like on the back. So on this back area, the flounce is going to be racing upward like this also. You just need to add your zipper to the zipper allowance that you fixed here, and then this is what it's going to look like. So this is what it looks like on the back, and this is the hem of your sleeve. So you can see the round sleeve here now, and then by sewing it inwards like that, it will make sure that the rough edges are not showing, they are neatly tucked in. So this is where the hand is going to come out. This is your round sleeve. So now I'll take this to the mannequin so that we can see what this looks like. Okay, so this is what the blouse is looking like now. You can see our flounce is standing. I just top stitch, so you can see it's very close to where the flounce is, and this is the full view of the blouse. And like I said, you can add it to a busker blouse also. It doesn't have to be a regular blouse like this. So this is the front view. This is what it looks like on the side. You can see the cold shoulder effect that we have here. You can see our strap here. Okay, so the measurement we used for this strap is what we removed from this when we wanted to turn it to off shoulder on the armhole area. Okay, so this is the rope that we added. So here I said you can, from your armhole area, you can go down by 7 inches or more for your rope, so that you can just tie it like this. So, and this is the lower part. This is the part with the 4 inches that we closed. So this is the hem of the sleeve. You can see how beautiful and simple this is looking like. This is what it looks like on the back. So I just held my zipper allowance with pins here. So you fix your zipper here, and then your flounce is going to stand up like this if you top stitch on it, or you add your lining to it. So you can see how simple it is to make this blouse. It's very simple, and it's a really beautiful blouse. So I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.